What if every experience, every hardship, every obstacle was given to you, not to break you, but to mold you and strengthen you? What if the center of your suffering was actually the key to ultimate health? And what if your own pain was meant to be the catalyst for your greatest purpose? Welcome to Buddha Belly Life, empowering purpose, mind to microbiome. Welcome to the Buddha Belly Life podcast. Today we are interviewing Lindsay Goodwin, and she is the founder of Fertile Mindset Mastery. So she's a Fertile Mindset Mastery mentor, podcast host, and author in the field of fertility and reproductive energy. Lindsay Goodwin offers a unique approach to fertility, seamlessly integrating spirituality and energy healing with subconscious reprogramming and proven scientific methods. Thoughts, beliefs, and emotions directly impact physical functions and hormone levels, significantly affecting healthy conception and full-term pregnancy. Through evidence-based practices and energy techniques, she empowers her clients in their path to parenthood. Welcome to the show, Lindsay Goodwin.
Thank you so much, Brittany. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, this is sweet. So this is a little different take. And I know like people can get funny about energy, but there's nothing that's off topic to me because I think that I'm somebody that's like, if you're solid in who you are and you respect what other people do, like we can talk about so many interesting things, and there is energy in the body. So give us just a little rundown of kind of what you do before we talk about kind of how you got here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I think it's an important space to be in that you can see many different perspectives and still be open, obviously, to what your own beliefs are, but also to what other people are feeling is right for them. So I love that. Mm-hmm. So what I do, well, I do an awful lot. I definitely work with a lot of fertility and women's health clients, as well as I work in other parts of my business where I focus on business with people, mentorship. So as far as in the fertility and women's health area, I'm really all about integrating the science with the energy, with the spiritual side. And so when I say that, it could be about physical body, like your hormones, but really how are my hormones or our hormones responding to things like spiritual energy and really what our thoughts are? Because science has really proven that when we are in a place of, say, fight or flight mode, that the hormones will be all over the place and people can have infertility obstacles. Well, I don't really like the word infertility. I should say fertility obstacles. I just feel like infertility is saying that something is wrong with you, and really fertility is more about a restructuring. And so our mind is so powerful. And so that would be such a huge part of what I do, is really helping people understand that you do have power through what you're thinking about. And it's not blaming and saying, oh, you're creating your reality, and that, you know, it's some of that is true, but it's really figuring out where the disconnect is so that your body is following what your energy is actually doing. So yeah, to sum it up, integrating science with the spiritual energies, and that could entail things like what you're doing, Brittany, of looking at people's hormones, helping them with their diet, as well as helping them understand more of those kind of unseen energies as well.
I love that. And like when we do work a lot with the brain, right? Yeah. Like we hear mindset all the time. And I think people who maybe carry more trauma or somatic distress in their nervous system can get kind of frustrated with the mindset piece, even though we need both, because you're feeling, right? Like their body's just experiencing and feeling so much. And so what I hear you say that other people may not hear as easy off the bat is it's not just about mindset, like thinking happy thoughts and stuff. You tap into a whole approach of, yes, working with brain rewiring, which is similar to what like we train some of our coaches to do. And also working with that energy within the body, probably things like trauma, stored trauma, and, you know, more than just fight or flight, because it's a stressful time, you know, at work this week. Like sometimes some of us have had to live in fight or flight most of our life, you know. This could be very counterintuitive for fertility. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. It's our
it's definitely not about being positive. In fact, that's one of my biggest pet peeves when you hear people say that, oh, just be positive, it'll happen, stay calm, kind of thing. It's very real when you're experiencing fertility obstacles or hormonal obstacles. You feel that, especially when a doctor will say, we don't really know what's wrong with you. We have no idea why this is happening. And then it really feels like you're in the dark. And so, yeah, absolutely. We have to be sensitive about that and realizing that that's part of the human experience. That's part of our experience, is going through emotional ups and downs and really learning how to work through those versus being more responding versus triggering, and really figuring out what the triggers are, and we're in a journey, we're in an experience of growth. And so sometimes it can feel pretty lonely, especially when you're having a lot of health stuff going on. Right. But yeah, so the subconscious mind is really powerful because 90% of our thoughts are actually in the subconscious mind, and we're a lot of times not even aware of what we're thinking about because they're patterning or trauma, like you had stated. And the body is just listening to what the mind is telling it. And then you're like, well, I don't really know. Why am I having insomnia? Why is my progesterone off? And it's not just about remaining positive. It's about really figuring out, where's there trauma that I'm holding on to that really needs to be healed so that I can be more emotionally free and feel more free in my life experience, rather than feeling bogged down by patterns and beliefs and things that probably are not even mine. They're generational.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to crack that can in a minute. So before we get into that, and you're supporting so many things that I'll give you some more information later on my nervous system work and some personal experiences. But had I known back when I struggled with some levels of infertility and miscarriage and stuff, like had I known what I know now, so much more makes sense to me now. So I can't wait to get into that part. Before we do, can you tell us how you got here? Tell us a little bit about your interesting story, because I'm guessing you didn't just fall into this line of work.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an interesting story. So I'm a born intuitive medium. What that really means is that I've been sensing energy and really being able to know what's going on with people, more of like what their thoughts are and how that's connecting to their health and their experience. Since I've been a child, I'm not really sure how to explain how I know those things. I just do, as well as I do see things. I have where I see in what's called, I'm sure you're aware of this, the third eye. So the mind's eye, I'll see different things and I'll relay those to the clients that I'm working with. So that's where the spiritual connection with the physical is really coming in. It's not just about the physical, but it's also, what is the universe trying to show us as well? How can we enrich our physical experience? So that was kind of the start of it. And then when I was in my 30s, I decided that I didn't want to work in corporate America anymore. And I went back to school to become a licensed acupuncturist, board certified herbalist. And while I was in school, I always said, I don't want to treat women's health. I don't want to do fertility. I want to do autoimmune. I want to do pain management. And then when I got out, I started my own practice. I started getting only women's health and fertility patients. And I knew that the universe was directing me in a way that I hadn't really expected that was going to be my journey. And so that's kind of where it started. And then in 2017, I had a near-death experience where I was robbed at gunpoint and I had an out-of-body experience. I thought I was going to lose my life. In fact, it's a very interesting experience because I felt very vulnerable, like you would think that you would feel, scared and terrified, but at the same time there was this gold energy that was wrapping me, and I was levitating above my body, and I was doing things that I was not normal of my character, that people that were also there, because there was another person that was there when it happened that had later told me things I was doing and I don't remember because I wasn't here. And so after that, I really started waking up even more to my intuitive gifts. And then I started getting communication from spirit babies. And so spirit babies essentially are the unborn souls of babies coming into parents' lives. And so that's also something that I do, is helping people connect with their babies and really figure out what needs to happen to bring them here. And so that's where it started. And then it started getting more into the subconscious mind work. And so it's really evolved over a period of time of why I am where I am. And really my goal is to awaken, if we could just say it just in a nutshell, awaken the power that lies within all of us, and knowing that anything that you desire is possible.
Right. And so it's what a scary experience. I've had a gun pulled on me one time. It wasn't me; it was my friend. And that we always. It's not funny, but we joke about it now because we joke about where we've come from in our lives, the areas that we were raised in and the things that we come from, and how it's so different. Like where I live in this resort town now, and probably a lot of people here have no idea what that's like. We will make jokes about it. Like, if you haven't had a gun pulled on you, I don't even want to know you right now because we won't even get each other. It's like a joke. Yeah. But yeah, it is such such a scary feeling. Mm-hmm. It happens so fast. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad that you are okay and that you had an experience from all of it. Yeah. That's what we can all hope from big yucky events, right? Is that we gain something instead of lose something. But the nervous system remembers stuff. And so It's so interesting how, you're talking about some of these things, and regardless of what anyone may believe or not believe, or, when we're talking about, whatever, the very beliefs of spirituality, we are all energy, and the nervous system, like you said, where you blend the science, because now we can look at the science and see how the body stores energy. So especially things like traumatic experiences, or we even know that babies are affected in utero by the state of the mother. So if mom's in a really stressed state, or God forbid an abusive relationship or something, this can wire the fetus, the baby's nervous system, for anxiety, stress, fear, etc., as it's developing in the body. I mean, that's fascinating. What do you think about these things?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting that you brought that up, because that's exactly what happened to me, is that I was, and that is a huge reason, another reason why I do what I do, because of my own journey. And I think our journey is just like you with your fertility journey, that it has pushed you into where you're at. And so even though I actually don't have children, and never really wanted to have them, but I consider myself to be a mother in other ways of helping people to bring babies into the world that do want them. So I am helping nurture the world too. But yeah, my experience into this world was very traumatic. My mom was in a very abusive relationship while she was pregnant with me. And I remember that. I remember being in the womb. And in fact, there is scientific proof, Bruce Lipton talks about this, that in the last trimester, that's when we're really starting to tap into the subconscious mind layer and forming some of those beliefs and some of those patterns that you're talking about, that's somatic, and really setting up the nervous system. And so that's what happened, is that I knew that my mom was being abused, and I could feel that on a consistent basis, because my biological father was very mentally and physically abusive. And so, in fact, at one point, my mom actually almost lost me because he was so abusive to her at one point. So that's really scary for a baby. And I always help my clients. I don't have any clients that are in abusive relationships. I've never had that. But I have had clients that have experienced birth trauma like I did, and womb trauma. And I think a lot of people probably have, because this world it can be difficult to navigate through society at times. And not saying everyone's in an abusive relationship, but a lot of people are stressed out. They're feeling overwhelmed by society. They're feeling overwhelmed by the pressure. Maybe they had a really scary fertility journey, and now they're afraid of losing the pregnancy. I mean, there could be a lot of things going on here that could create stress for the fetus. But I do try to help people to understand that let's work on things that we can do during your pregnancy to help you feel grounded and help you feel safe, so that your baby is feeling that they're coming into an environment that they can also feel safe in.
Right. So true. I remember with my third daughter, she was unplanned, and I was 35, and I had all my babies at home. But when she was born in 2020, so it was the height of COVID. It was summer of 2020. And I'm a home birth doing mom for me. That's always been my thing. And of course, we transport if we absolutely have to. But we were hearing at the time that if we have to transport and if we show any signs of COVID or whatever, that they can just take our babies away from us. They can separate mom and baby, even though there's no science to show it was even bad for babies. There was, it was awful. So I was so terrified, let alone I had just stepped into this blended family with this pregnancy I didn't, anticipate. And so it was wild. I was taking on 6 kids, and my ex-husband, at the time he's a real estate agent. So he was, running on that all the time. And I was trying to, these 5 kids. And what was crazy, she was my 3rd baby. And so I was having prodromal labor. So if you don't know what that is, that's like contractions and labor for quite a while before she was born. So I was like, this baby might just fly out of me. Like she could come early. Like I was anticipating her coming early. That girl was 10 days overdue, quote unquote. It's still your body's time, but still. And they said that they saw that a lot at that point in time because there was so much stress from that COVID situation think about it. If you were, in a war scenario or something, you wouldn't just necessarily go into labor. The body would probably try and hang on to that baby as long as it can until you're in a safe space to release. And isn't that so true of so many things? We're going to wait until we're in a safe space to release. Just like panic attacks or anxiety usually comes when you try to sit down after the chaos or the storm.
Right. Yeah. That's interesting. And I absolutely, your baby was feeling that. And she also was ready to come when she was ready to come. That's the other thing too.
Totally.
I believe that we do choose our birth dates and when we want to be born and how the energies are in the universe. So going into astrology. But a similar thing happened to me. It's interesting. You're bringing up a lot of things that are very aligned, which I always love that when that happens because intuitively it's that we definitely are in a connection here. But I did not want to come out. I had jaundice and my fingernails, the skin, and this was not during COVID, obviously. The skin with underneath my fingernails and toenails was so grown out because I was in the womb way too long. And I also was born on a full moon. But when I did come out, I came out so fast that my mom actually almost lost her life because of it. She almost hemorrhaged. So it's really crazy. It's like the body was no longer going to let me stay in there. And but I didn't want to come out because of the trauma the environment that I knew I was coming into. So I could definitely see that even though that was not the case with your daughter, it was probably very chaotic for her thinking about, I'm going into this environment where the world is not safe.
Yeah, it was pure chaos when she exited that portal. When she was out of this body, it was pretty chaos in the body. I know it was because my doctor at the time said she'd never seen that high cortisol levels on anyone she'd ever tested as she did on me. And I've never forgotten that. And it messed with my blood pressure and everything, even though I'm very into health and was very active and gained a healthy amount of weight, no preeclampsia, nothing. The stress alone. And it was trauma stress because at the time, without going into details, I was entering a very unsafe situation, and my body knew it, my nervous system knew it, but my mind didn't want to believe it. And so I know, like you talk about in utero, your mom went through things. I would be willing to bet too, intuitive people, like anybody, whether you're a proclaimed, intuitive, like you own that, or whether you're empathetic and you're a feeler and you can read people, those of us who have early life trauma backgrounds, our nervous systems have wired to read everything in our environment, every energy. And it doesn't mean it's always right, but you know what? If anyone's bound to be right, it's going to be these people. And we will notice, it's a healthy nervous system could sit in a room and maybe hear a couple noises or zone a few things out. A hypervigilant system that was born or raised in an unsafe, environment is going to hear everything, scan everything, feel every emotion. See, it's amazing. And if you don't get rid of, if we don't heal that, which it's hard if it's happened early because your whole system and brain is programmed, like what you're talking about, doing the mindset work. You're talking about actually rewiring pathways in the brain. So this is where people, it's not just thoughts and happy thoughts. And you're talking about rewiring neural pathways that probably never, that connect to our nervous system and our whole body's somatic responses that likely never got the opportunity to know peace in their existence. And you're trying to teach it sometimes, at what, 30, 40.
I know, it's scary. It's scary to think about, and it's sad. It's sad that, but I don't know. I mean, I believe, and not everyone believes this, but I do believe that we do incarnate into these experiences with some sort of coding, blueprint of what it is that we want to experience as far as what we want to evolve into. And some of those experiences are not going to be, they're not going to be fun. I mean, they're going to be very traumatic and abusive, and that's what makes some people here such great, like ourselves, that makes us such great healers and connectors for people, because we understand what it's like to be in a place of trauma and be in a place of that, helplessness and trapped, and how we've brought ourselves back to be able to have something that maybe a lot of people just had naturally, and they don't know what it's like to not have, Mm-hmm. And so I do believe that there is some truth in that we're doing what we're doing for a reason, and that we, I guess I call it coding, have been coded the way that we have for a reason. And not all of us, I always tell people this too, that we can't compare our lives to others, because we all have different journeys and we have different expectations of ourselves based on the soul level of what we wanted to experience and our growth. And so when we compare and say, well, why does so-and-so have it so easy? Or why does so-and-so, have it, they didn't have what I had. Well, they have a different journey than you. Right. They have something that maybe they wanted a life that was more easy breezy. Whereas you and I showed up and we're like, what? We're ready to rewire the brain and take it on.
We want to have empathy for anyone and everyone, so just give it all to me.
Right, exactly.
Do you have a desire for fulfillment? Does helping people tap into their own health mentally, emotionally, and physically fire you up? Do you believe in the impact of the gut microbiome on overall wellness? You may be an HWCA coach. For more info on our cutting-edge health coach trainings, visit hwcacoach.com.
And what an empowering perspective, though, to say, and I will agree with you that some of us, and that all of us, have the ability to choose as much as we can to see our hardships as a spiritual muscle that we've built, that maybe we wouldn't have, consciously here today said, I want to go through this. And this and this and this and this. Like, right. No, that sucks. But at the same time, you had to do it. And so you have this great spiritual muscle, and to choose to be a person that utilizes pain and turns it into purpose instead of turning it into self-destruction, self-loathing, that those really distract or becomes then abusive to others, right? Perpetuates the dysfunction is a powerful choice, and it's a gift. And it honestly, I wouldn't trade for the easy life, because this one's just meaning. Meaning is just such a blessing. Like, I don't want to do any less in this world.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's your coding, that's why you feel that way. And not everyone feels like that. Not everyone wants that sort of, I guess, constantly. I'm a Capricorn, so we're constantly, our whole thing is that we're never done climbing up the mountain because we're the sea goat. So it's just, you always need like the next thing to be like, okay, what can I fix? But that can also be a trauma response too, that I have to pay attention to. It's like, okay, well, we got to relax too. We don't always need to be fixing the world or fixing somebody. It's also about relaxing too. So yeah, it's a lot of self-awareness. I feel like you help people, but you also have to keep constant self-awareness as well. So I'm not a huge fan of the guru word that people use, because I feel like we're never done growing.
No, ew. That's like an ego state. I absolutely reject that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And like you say, I'm actually Pisces.
Nice.
So yeah, but not that I know a lot about astrology, because I don't. I just know Pisces are always like the emotional ones. So, but yeah, I am just learning that now at 40, and after going through what I went through and just barely crawling out of burnout. Like, I did not think burnout's such a light word for what I went through. And a lot of stuff no one would ever have believed was going on in my life. And so it was wild because I didn't think I was going to get my health back. But as it's restoring, all kinds of things in my life are restoring. And I tapped even more into my purpose place. And I have for years, I've been in that space, but I have more capacity for it now. And then I started having to learn and balance what you just said. And I felt fragmented for so long because it was like, no, if I'm not bleeding out for somebody or something, then what is this? Like, I didn't even know how to step into a place of like lightheartedness or fun. And my body was rejecting that, which I think is probably going to lead into what we're about to talk about next.
Right.
My heart and my soul is meant to be what it is, but it was like, I use the Spider-Man term all the time with my kids. With great power comes great responsibility. So it was like something I needed to learn to wield healthily instead of just let it take hold. It'll kill me. My greatest gift will be the death of me. It'll make me overfunction for everybody. I'll just kill myself, trying to rescue people, trying to save or carry others. Like, I had to learn how to use my gift and still keep it, because I don't ever want it to go away, but how to then set boundaries with it, step back a little bit, be present, but not be absorbed in it. And I'm just learning that now at 40 so that I can go on and have a nice life without my body somatically, hormonally. I ended up with a Hashimoto's thyroid condition.
Oh, wow.
And all of that. And so this is, I think, what we're going to segue into now is what you're talking about when it comes to hormone function, because hormone function is key to fertility. We all know that. Mm-hmm. But instead of just addressing it as, oh, you just don't make too much estrogen, you don't make enough progesterone. Yes, there's some some physiological pieces to that, sure. But it's amazing, and I will back you up on this, how much is affected by your energy, your trauma, your stress responses, and what they could be living every day. So please elaborate on some of this.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm sorry to hear the Hashimoto's. That I'm going to give you some clarity on that. From an energetic standpoint, your thyroid is, the chakras in the body, which are the energy centers located in the spine. Mm-hmm. And we have many of them. We have them in our hands. We have them in our feet. They're all over the place. But if we talk about the main chakras in the spine, each one is connected to different emotion and also part of the endocrine system. And so, as you know, the thyroid is part of the endocrine system. And so the thyroid is sitting right there in the throat chakra. And so the throat chakra is all about communication. So if you were feeling like you weren't able to communicate what you wanted to, I think probably a lot of people had a lot of issues with feeling like they could speak their voice, especially during COVID, because there was so much of taking away so much stuff and feeling scared about things. And it was a very spiritually transitioning time, energetically, with some of the energies of the universe as well in consciousness. We're just keep evolving without getting too much into that. But so when you have a blocked throat chakra, you're going to actually start to see physical things actually manifesting in that particular organ and that gland there. And it's and so many women have thyroid imbalance when they are trying to conceive. If we're just talking about fertility here, which is a lot of what we're talking about, because there's trauma there, and that's directly linked to the sacral chakra, which is, I call the womb space. And that's where the uterus is. But men also have not a physical uterus, but also it's a place of creation. It's an energetic portal for creativity and just creation in your life. So if you feel that you can't express your identity, you're not able to express who you truly are, you're not being honest with yourself about what your needs are, and also expressing to the external world, to people around you, that throat chakra is going to get blocked, which is also going to block the creative center. So this is where it's very interesting, because we can actually connect science and using the diagnostic tools to see, oh, this person has Hashimoto's, or we've got some fibroids here, we've got some blocked things going on in the uterus. But then, okay, what's going on the energetic level? What's going on with somebody spiritually, emotionally? what trauma are they holding on to that is creating dis-ease in these particular parts of the body. So yeah, it's interesting. I love it being able to have such an open sort of almost like a beautiful painting. That's what I think of the universe as, this magnificent piece of art. And we're using lots of different tools to figure out what that particular person needs to be able to heal. And it does involve science.
Right. Absolutely. Right. And I can support that with teaching about the gut microbiome, because the gut microbiome is like, it's like our external ecosystem shrunk down inside our bodies. I mean, it's like how everything works together. The bees have a purpose. The flies have the things that seem insignificant all still have this purpose in the greater ecosystem. And there's, and if, it's not overly parasitic, which it is, we obviously, a lot of us are living parasitically. We're taking and dumping and not replenishing like nature would. Then we have disease and we have, pollution. We have all that. And the same goes for our gut. So, and it's affected by emotions and stuff too. So it's like, I totally understand how you're saying that. I have just an interesting question for you. Because when you're talking about the speaking and all that, obviously communication, a lot of people struggle. I know I spent so much of my life walking into situations that were pure invalidation. So I wasn't allowed to speak, but I would anyway. And there just it wasn't allowed to be in disagreement. Marriages and stuff like that, I wasn't allowed to have a problem with somebody because there can never be resolution. And as a fixer, as somebody who wants to, hey, we'll call it out, we'll talk about it, but I want to fix it because that's how we make home safe. That's how we change the narrative. That's how we, I have killed myself beating dead horses, trying to fix or be heard, say it a different way, not realizing that there just would never be allowability. So that makes a lot of sense, with my thyroid crashing. One of the biggest things is this, I think it's the solar plexus chakra. Is that the one right in your upper, not in your chest, but right below in your upper stomach?
Yes.
Is that okay? So that's always been my area. Like that's the one that acts up horrific. To where I would hold my chest, like I was holding my guts in my body when I was, stressed or to try and calm down. It's where anxiety would hit. I'd have horrific panic attacks. What are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm sorry. Again, and from one person to the next that has definitely experienced a lot of trauma, not only in childhood, but also in situations I've chosen to put myself into, one being a stalking situation, which was really interesting. And when that was going on, I constantly felt like I was being choked, not physically, but this person was taking my voice and my body was responding to taking the power away. So I completely understand how that can feel. And when we talk about the solar plexus, I integrate a lot of different things as an acupuncturist and doctor of Chinese medicine. I'm always thinking about the Eastern philosophy as well. And so there's things there with the meridians as well as emotions attached to those meridians. And then also, of course, chakras are Eastern philosophy as well. But tying it all together, we're talking about the gut here, which really on a spiritual level is going to be, like people say, follow your gut instinct. That's going to be what I call the earthly sort of intuition. And as a Pisces, I know that you don't know a lot about astrology, but some people listening to this might be really interested in this because I know it's a popular topic now. With Pisces, have a tendency to want to fix everything and make everything beautiful and people feel good. And so when you're not around that, you want to try to fix it just naturally in what your coding is. And so your digestive system is connected in Eastern philosophy, if we're talking about Chinese medicine, to the energy of worrying.
Yes, worry.
So, yes. So if you're in situations where you're worrying all the time, it's going to take a huge toll on your gut microbiome and create all kinds of problems for you. And if you're worrying, that also creates holes that could possibly be bringing in things like parasites. I think parasites are actually just energies that are taking over because we're vulnerable and we're not fully protecting ourselves. And again, this is no blame or shame here when I say that. You're not doing anything wrong, anybody listening to this. it just is that it's taking our power back. It's figuring out what needs to happen so that we don't have holes of allowing things in that could be siphoning out our energy. And people that are narcissistic, I mean, I don't even think of them necessarily as narcissistic. I think of it more as an energy collective.
Yes.
It's a vibration that people are choosing to be on. And
It extracts.
Yeah. And it's taking your power, and your solar plexus is your earthly sort of power. And that is an area with people that are struggling with fertility obstacles that is often overlooked, is the gut. And that's like where your body is making all your blood and creating a healthy system. It starts in your digestive system from your food, what you're consuming. And so if it's not functioning properly, then you could have all kinds of things going on. So it does start, I think of it as like planting seeds. You know, Your digestive system is kind of like a place where you're like, if you're planting crops, it's like it's the earth element, it's the soil, it's where you would plant the seeds. And then when you can't plant proper seeds because you're so emotionally drained and your body's not functioning properly, and so then it starts to scream at you and say, hey, soul speaking through the body right now, whatever you're doing, whoever you're around, whatever energy is siphoning from you, we got to make a change. We got to do something different because this is not working.
Yeah. And we've even seen on a science level that one traumatic incident can recompose the gut microbiome to the negative. So, I mean, it can seriously change the ratio of good or bad, cause dysbiosis, an overgrowth of too much gram-negative, or like parasites. We don't even know enough about parasites yet. Everyone's like, cleanse all the parasites and all that. And in gut health, we're kind of like, hey, chill out, because it's kind of like bad bacteria. There's bad bacteria, quote unquote, that we need, though. We just can't have a lot of it. It's kind of like people. Right? Yeah. If everyone was super nice and great all the time, there would be no nuance to the world. Right. But if we have too many people that are grumpy and negative and difficult, then we're screwed. Like, the environment would just stink, but like a few, like, it's the ratio. And so it's kind of like that with parasites and things like that too. And what we're feeding, not only with food, nutrition, lack of, but with energy and experiences. And for those, I mean, I feel like this is a lot of people, and I feel like this is really relative even to hormonal dysregulation, which is what ends up with fertility issues, is especially if there's some kind of trauma background or like experiences, the nervous system can be reliving this on a regular, but we don't know a difference because we're just so used to it. It's all we've known. So we're wired for hypervigilance, which is shooting cortisol constantly. All of these things. So that just makes sense. What you're saying is working with the spiritual side of it, with the nervous system piece of it, to like calm the fire down and not just try and. You can't out diet, as important as diet and exercise is, you can't out diet and exercise that type of the nervous system doing what it does. You cannot do it. I was living proof of this.
Yep. And there's so many people that have told their stories exactly what you just said, that have come out to really help people to understand that you can't, we can do all these things. We can take the right supplements, we can diet, we can the perfect diet, exercise, be meditating, journaling, doing all the stuff. But if we're not addressing the root, and it is the trauma, it's the energy, it's the nervous system and how it's responding, from those experiences, the body is just going to keep doing the same thing, and you have to get to the root. And so we are seeing that in modern medicine, that a lot of these doctors, and they're starting to get more open to some of these mind-body therapies. And there have been studies that have shown, especially in fertility journeys, that people that do partake in mind-body therapies have higher success rates, because the body is always listening to what the energy is telling it. And someone asked me the other day, well, what do you mean by energy? Does that mean like how my energy feels, like as how energetic I'm feeling, like as far as having the energy to go want to do something? As well, kind of, but it's more about how the energy is, like, what are you on the subconscious layer thinking about? How is your body connecting to that? It's more of a spiritual sort of energy that we're talking. Yeah.
Safety. I like to use that word a lot.
Safety. Yeah.
Safety, because we're talking, and if you don't know a difference, I look back now and I can relate. I spent a year trying to get pregnant in my early to mid 20s to no avail. And for that age and actively trying, I feel like the more, and trying and wanting it so bad, I can see now I was in a constant stress state of just wanting to force this thing to happen. And it wasn't until a year later that I broke my toe.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, I couldn't run. Like, I was doing all these, I always did a lot of very forceful things. Like, here's my workout, trying to get my weight here, diet here, do this, I was always hyper vigilant. I mean, I'm the kind of person that can come in and take the tasks of any emergency situation, a full business operation, a full I walk into chaos. That's normal for me. That's all I knew. And I start functioning for everybody, and this was very unhealthy. I'm learning at 40 how that has really hurt me. But I broke my toe, so I couldn't run. I couldn't do as much of the functioning as I normally would. And that's when I got pregnant. And I ended up miscarrying the baby, which was very devastating because you wanted to, especially the first one. I went through a miscarriage later between my boys, and that wasn't nearly as hard because I had known I could get pregnant at that point. I had already had a son. But that first one, I didn't know, And so although I didn't keep it, I did work with a really great midwife and ended up getting pregnant with my son within a month or two after that. But my body didn't even get pregnant for that whole year. It took that until I broke my toe. And I think it forced my body into a parasympathetic state, which is the opposite of fight or flight more. And that was the first time I ever got pregnant. Even though I didn't keep it, I still had hormonal stuff going on. It was the first time I even got close.
Yeah. Yeah. And your body was telling you, it was telling you, and that. I mean, that's what's beautiful about this is that you got out of it what you needed. It was very hard to have the miscarriage. You did have your son after that. But the thing is with miscarriages, and maybe this is going to be helpful for people listening, is there's a lot of guilt around that oftentimes, that you've done something wrong. Why do I not? Now I don't trust my body. And it's not like that. And the spiritual energetic, we're thinking of the spirit baby, the unborn baby, the soul doesn't actually come in till about 16 weeks. So I think of it as a seed. It's a seed, and more of like a mind seed. Like it's planting something there to be able to get you to redirect you into a different direction. And that's what was going on with you, is that your body said, okay, we're going to let this happen, but it's not going to be the actual full version of it quite yet. But we're redirecting you in a different direction, because what was going on is there was a lot of overachieving. Of feeling like I have to be this, I have to be that, I have to be perfect, I have to prove to the world that I'm worthy. And so the universe was like, we're not doing that anymore. Let's redirect her. And so it redirected you. And then you started to see a change in your reality. And then there was still some more work to do. And then you got your son and you got pregnant with him. So miscarriages are not, I think, a lot of times what people think that they are. They're very difficult to go through, but if it helps bring some peace to anyone listening to this, that you haven't done anything wrong. It's just the universe is just redirecting you. And the soul, I find a lot of times the babies will actually be watching outside of the body as the experience is happening as well. So they're always with you. It's not as if they are not here watching you and the growth that you're having. I don't know how much you know about spirit babies, Brittany, but
this is all very new.
Yeah.
But no, it's a really fun perspective. Like it's very interesting. And when I think it was my son used to say weird things when he was little. For a while, my oldest son, he used to say that I remember, he said he remembered sitting with God and playing toys, and he chose me to be his mom, or said something. He would say something like that. Like he would say, and he talked like he was playing with God like another kid. And it was really interesting. He used to do this. He was like 4. I didn't say things like that to him. He would just say it. It was very interesting. But it was just interesting to me, like what's in a baby's mind when they're in utero, and what's in those years. Cause then obviously we lose that, we get older, and we, couldn't hardly remember before age 4, some of us. But it's really, really interesting. And that just that space for the body. I know a lot of people that experience fertility issues. I also know a lot of people that deal with the thyroid and the hormone function and stuff. And I don't find it ironic that I would say a lot of these people have some early life trauma, maternal trauma even, maybe not just paternal trauma, but a lack of some of that safety from early childhood. And I don't find that ironic. What do you think about some of that?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't find it ironic either. In fact, I'm a past life regression therapist, and I don't, not get into it too much. It's not past life like we think. I actually believe that all of our lifetimes are happening simultaneously. That it's just we're having different flashbacks or deja vus about different timelines that we're moving towards. But we can say past life because it's easier for us to understand if people believe in that. But when I work with clients, like in the womb, what I'll actually do is we'll go into the womb, into their consciousness. So I'll get them in a deep state, in hypnosis, in a trance state, and then go in and go to some of those memories and break through some of those and actually help the fetus to see that everything is okay, or even going as far back as before, even in the womb, like when your son, who, by the way, he was telling me that he played with the dog as well. I was seeing like a golden sort of looking dog. I don't know what kind of dog you had, but I was seeing that when you were talking about him. But so it could be even going that far back, what was it like before I actually even came into the womb? Was I scared? Was there things that I can remember? And so when you start really helping people to see this, and of course you have to be open to it. You can't lead somebody into something that they feel comfortable with. And sometimes it's meeting people where they're at and working slowly through it. You just don't go all in right away. But yeah, I mean, this stuff is very real. And I'm always questioning why we don't think more of this just like about dreams. Like, what do people think dreams really are? Or deja vu? Or you go to a place and you're like, I've been here before, or I've met this person before, and people just discard it. And
it's actually a creepy feeling, I think, sometimes to me.
It's so good. It can be. Yeah, absolutely. Because we're essentially in a simulation where it's I call it a game. It's the game of life. And with being human, you have so many different emotions, and it doesn't feel so fun. Like you're playing a game sometimes. You're like, but wait a minute, trauma is not a game. What are you talking about?
Right.
But we're talking about human versus the soul, which is very different. So really life is about learning to integrate the two, really listening to your intuition and blocking out all the other things that are keeping you from being in alignment with the infinite creator light that you truly are. And your body's a tool to be able to connect with that.
Right. It's 2 things. On a simple note, I feel like what you're explaining, my boys would back that up as like, I forget what they'd call it, but like in their Marvel movies, right? Where there's multiple universes happening at any given time, and considering even if someone comes from, let's say, a Christian belief system or just, a spiritual, non-religious belief system, or whatever, everyone kind of essentially believes that time doesn't exist. So, I mean, that's kind of just a universal truth. Time is only subjective to this world. If we believe there's any type of spirit, there is no time, right? So I find that really interesting. It's funny what you said about my son and his dog, though, because I will tell you this. First, I'm like, okay, so our dog right now, he's like brownish and whatever. He's an Aussie Doodle. It's very pretty. But it's interesting because when I was pregnant with my son, we had 2 little dogs. We had this little fluffy dog and then just yappers. And then my husband at the time brought home this other little black dog, yappers as well. We named him Indy and Anna. And while I was pregnant with Phoenix, with my first son, it was the dead of winter and a dog showed up on my front porch, and it was like a lab retriever mix. and it was like maybe 35 pounds. It was not big. It had a big wound on its hip, but other than that, it was well taken care of, manicured. But and there was footprints in the snow, like that just started in the street. Like I couldn't figure out, did someone just drop him off? Like we never could figure out where this dog came from, but he was injured and he was very sweet. He came right in my house. I was pregnant with Phoenix and he jumped on me. I thought he was a neighbor's dog. So I just opened the door because he came to my front door. I just opened the door and he came in my house, and I'm thinking the neighbor's dog just came in my house. Turns out it was not the neighbor's dog. It was a stranger dog. I'd already had the 2 little dogs. I was pregnant with Phoenix, quite pregnant at the time. Like at least probably 4-5 months. I don't know. He was doing May. It was winter. Yeah, I was probably more than that. It was probably the beginning of the year. So I was obviously pregnant, and he just jumps on me. And we put out flyers for him because you could tell he was well taken care of. He seemed like he was bathed, like he wasn't mangy or anything, but he had this big old wound on his hip, and it was bad. It was deep. And so we put out flyers and everything. No one bit on him. No one came to find, I mean, we contacted the Humane Society. We contacted anybody who could contact to find a dog. This is before I did much social media. It was 2011. And I ended up taking him to the vet and getting him taken care of there. We had to put a cone on him. We had to heal this wound from the inside out. And we named him Gabriel after the Archangel Gabriel. Yeah. And that was the story of that dog. So I just do think it's really interesting that you said that. I thought I would share that story with everybody. My son will get a kick out of it too.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Well, I love it. I know we weren't doing intuitive reading today, but just sharing with you. First of all, thank you. I have chills all over my body. I mean, that is just incredible. The dog was sent from him to you. And the reason why the dog had a wound on its hip was because that was all about safety, because the lower part of the body is all about foundational energy and really feeling safe in your body. So I think the dog, and you named it Gabriel, which Gabriel, as you know, is definitely healing. I mean, I feel like all the archangels are. Mm-hmm. But that is such a strong message. Mm-hmm. And I'm so glad that we talked about that. And then I actually brought that up because sometimes I see things and I don't share it. Because you never know how people are going to take it, but it definitely felt inviting. But do you still have the dog?
No. We rehomed him when we got divorced. We had to rehome the dog. So I knew the person he went to, but I'm not sure. I didn't get to keep tabs on him after that, but he was such, I had him for a couple years, and he played with my chickens and he played with my dog. We ended up with 3 dogs, a baby, and 4 chickens in a cookie cutter house in the middle of a neighborhood. But yeah.
Wow, that's pretty crazy. Well, yeah, he came to protect you, because I think that your son could probably sense too that you needed some protection. So I think
I was home alone a lot then too, because his dad would work graveyard shifts and be gone a lot, so I was just by myself a ton. And so it was really, really interesting. And we never put together the story of that dog, like where he came from.
Well, now you have the story.
Or why he had an owie, like what happened there.
Yep. He came for you. He came from your son. He was called from your son to protect you, and he did his job, and that was it. So, wow, that's incredible.
That's super cool. So what can you give to people who are struggling, or what kind of success or stories have you seen too, especially for long-standing struggles with fertility and hormone experiences?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I have absolutely tons and tons of stories. I have a few that I really like to talk about. Yeah. One in particular, she had some of the lowest egg quality I've ever seen for somebody her age. She was very young, and she had gone through IVF, and the doctors were able to get 1 embryo. That's all they had. Whoa. And so it was 1 shot. And this was quite a few years ago. IVF has really progressed, and transfers are pretty successful now if you have a healthy embryo. Mm-hmm. Even people that maybe have a mosaic, or anyone listening to this, I don't want to necessarily discourage you and think that even if it's not what the doctors considered to be the most perfect embryo, I have seen lots of babies come out to be very healthy with mosaic embryos, or embryos that are not perfectly ideal. But this was a long time ago, so it's evolved quite a bit since then. And so this embryo, they ended up transferring it, and I told her, I got an intuitive message that she needed to knit and sit and knit and get into the feminine creative energy, and that's what she did. And she did that the entire 2-week wait until she got her test. And the night before she found out she was pregnant, she saw an angel on her door outside. And it was an angel from we don't even know where it came from. I had a photo of it a long time ago, but I can still see it in my mind. And she got pregnant. She had 3 babies after that naturally on her own.
Wow.
And so I like telling that story because it gives people hope to understand that when we are able to, and part I'm missing out or leaving out that I need to let you know is that we identified that she had planted a seed that she was going to have fertility obstacles because someone in her family did. And when she was a young person, she had very young, like under 12, had identified that, I'm going to have issues with that as well. And so then that just goes to show her subconscious mind believes to tell the body what to do. And so once we cleared that pattern, then she was able to have her babies without any medical intervention. She could do it on her own. So that's one story I really like to tell.
And she had more too. It was like that first one showed her what she could do, and the body released maybe some of its belief systems that she would be infertile.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. And then there's another client. I have to be careful. I don't want to get too specific because I don't want to give people away because I'm very protective of that. But another client that had a lot of birth trauma, and she, from her first, and came and was experiencing secondary infertility. And so it was because of the birth trauma that she had from having the first baby. And so we had to work through that. It was very traumatic. We had to work through that. She almost lost her life, actually.
Wow.
And work through that, through the subconscious mind and the trauma. And she was able to conceive naturally with a diagnosis of PCOS. And doctors that actually told her that there's a lot of great doctors out there. So I'm not saying this is everybody, but there's also ones that don't have great bedside manner and are very like all sciencey and nothing else. And told her that she was a fool for working with anybody that was going to help her with the emotional. And also she wanted to work with somebody that was intuitive like myself. And she told the doctor that she was going to do this. And they said, well, it's just sham. It's not going to work. You're wasting your time. She got pregnant in 5 months of working with me naturally with PCOS, which can be difficult.
Oh yeah. Wow. That's amazing. That's so cool, Lindsay. Thank you so much for all that you've shared with us today and just for diving into some of these things. So where can we find you? Where's the best place? I mean, we're gonna put all of her links in the bio of the show too, but where's the best place that you like people to find out more about what you do, get familiar with your services and stuff?
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Brittany. It's been wonderful today. So I do have a podcast. It's called Fertile Frequencies. So you can definitely check me out there. I do talk a lot about what we talked about today, about the energy, spirit babies, as well as the subconscious mind and mindsets, really helping in that area. I feel like we need more focus in that. Everyone's talking about cycles and hormones, and there's so much of that, but we need more. We need more for the spiritual, energetic side of this as well. People need their emotions supported. I am on social media. You can check me out there pretty much on every platform. I just started on TikTok as well. I do have a YouTube channel, and if you are interested in learning more, you can visit my website, fertilefrequencies.com. I do have a couple of downloads there that you can download for free. I have a Spirit Baby Affirmations meditation, as well as an ebook on how to get you started in your fertility journey. And then I also, if anyone's interested in applying for any of my VIP fertility programs, you can do that. And I'd love to talk with you and help you on your journey and see if we're a good fit. So yeah, and I just want to say that you guys, anyone listening to this that's struggling, it's going to happen for you. I know it is. Just you're figuring out what needs to work. And people like Brittany and I exist for a reason, to help you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Lindsay, for doing this today. You guys go ahead and look for her information on the show. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining us for another empowering episode of Buddha Belly Life. For more information on gut health and mindset resources, visit buddhabellylife.com. And remember, heal yourself and then empower others to do the same.